Today, we examine a case that unsettled an entire state, not because of how loud it was, but because of how quietly it unfolded, a pattern hidden in plain sight, a series of deaths that, at first, appeared completely unrelated. This is the story of the Pennsylvania loyalty murders. Between late 2018 and early 2020, 3 men were found dead in different parts of Pennsylvania. Different cities, different lifestyles, no obvious connection. Each case, when first discovered, seemed explainable. The first victim, Mark Ellison, was a 34-year-old sales executive based in Pittsburgh. He was found in his apartment late one evening, seated on his couch. There were no signs of forced entry, no visible injuries. Initial reports suggested a possible overdose. Weeks later, toxicology results revealed something unusual, a rare combination of sedatives, not typically prescribed together. At the time, it was noted, but not pursued. The second victim, David Harlow, was discovered 3 months later in Harrisburg. A 41-year-old real estate agent, he was found in a hotel room he had checked into under his own name. Like the first case, there were no signs of struggle. Again, toxicology pointed to a similar combination of substances, but with no clear evidence of foul play, the case remained open, but inactive. The third case occurred nearly 6 months later. Anthony Briggs, a 29-year-old fitness trainer, was found in his home outside Philadelphia. The scene was quiet, undisturbed, almost identical in tone to the previous cases. 3 men, 3 deaths, all ruled as inconclusive. But what investigators didn't realize at the time was that these cases were not isolated. They were connected. The connection came not from the crime scenes, but from the victims' personal lives. Each of the men had been involved in multiple relationships at the same time, and each had, in the weeks leading up to their deaths, been in contact with the same woman. She used different names, different appearances, different stories, but one detail remained consistent. She always knew exactly who they were before they knew anything about her. Her real name, as investigators would later discover, was Claire Bennett, 31 years old. No prior criminal record, no history of violence. On paper, she didn't fit the profile, but as digital evidence began to surface, a clearer picture emerged. Claire had been tracking her victims, not randomly, but deliberately. She targeted men who were already in relationships, men who were actively deceiving their partners. She approached them online, slowly building trust. Then she arranged to meet, always in private, always on their terms. And once she was inside, she remained in control. Investigators believe Claire administered a controlled mixture of sedatives, enough to render her victims unconscious. There were no signs of force, no struggle, only silence, and once the act was done, she left. No fingerprints, no witnesses, no trace of her true identity. For months, she moved undetected, until a mistake changed everything. In early 2020, a 4th man came forward. He had been in contact with a woman who matched the emerging profile, but unlike the others, he survived. He reported feeling disoriented after meeting her, and recalled losing consciousness briefly. When he woke up, she was gone, but this time, she left something behind. A digital trail, messages, photos, a pattern. That was enough. Investigators reopened the previous cases. Phone records were cross-referenced. Location data was analyzed. And slowly, the connections became impossible to ignore. The same device, the same movement patterns, the same woman. Claire Bennett was identified and later apprehended in a small town just outside Allentown. By the time of her arrest, she had already begun preparing for another encounter. Inside her residence, authorities discovered detailed notes, names, dates, personal histories, each victim carefully documented, each interaction planned. During interrogation, Claire remained calm, composed. She admitted to the killings, but showed no visible remorse. When asked why, she gave a single response: they knew what they were doing. The case shocked the public, not just because of the crimes, but because of the method. There was no chaos, no visible violence, only precision, only intent. Claire Bennett was later charged and convicted. But even now, the case continues to raise difficult questions about motive, about control, and about how easily trust can be manipulated when someone knows exactly what to look for, because sometimes the most dangerous people don't force their way in. They're invited.